Hi, I'm Eileen Lucario, and I'm Vice President of Broadway in Chicago. And here with me is Chris Henderson, the Executive Director of Chicago Shakespeare Theater, and Nathan Allen, the Artistic Director of the House Theater of Chicago. And together we represent the over 200 fabulous theaters in Chicago. Chris, you know, you have so many great shows at Chicago Shakespeare Theater, and you have such an amazing place to go to theater. Can you tell people a little bit more about that?
Sure. You know, here we are in this city of neighborhoods. I think one of the greatest things about Chicago is that it's made up of so many amazing neighborhoods, and each of those neighborhoods has its own theater. There's art being made and coming out of those neighborhoods, and our neighborhood happens to be unique in that it's Navy Pier, the most visited tourist attraction in the Midwest, and for a city to place a theater dedicated to the works of Shakespeare at the center of this tourist destination, I think speaks so highly for, you know, the richness of Chicago theater. And 2 years ago we won the Regional Theater Tony Award, and that made Chicago the most Tony awarded theater for regional theaters in America, because before us, Victory Gardens, an amazing company that is one of the mainstays of Chicago theater, received the Tony Award, and then certainly Goodman and Steppenwolf theaters.
Goodman is known, I don't know, in our circles as the director's theater, so there's a lot of visionary directors coming through working on a very big stage, creating giant, beautiful things. Yeah. Steppenwolf is known as sort of the actors' theater, so they have a very well-known ensemble of actors that you can see in movies and TV and stuff all over America.
Do you want to say a little bit about the House Theater of Chicago?
The House does all original work. We're into like a lot of popular myth and stuff, so we do stories about superheroes and knights in shining armor and fun stuff like fairy tales and modern mythology. We're known for having a lot of physical, visual spectacle, a lot of music and stuff, so it's very interactive.
I think we do more new world premieres here in Chicago than anywhere else.
For the 200 theaters, I bet half of them are producing new work every year. So,
but everything you do is newly
everything
written,
the
right?
House does is original, created, or led in some part by our ensemble members.
So you can't see it anywhere else.
It's true.
Except Chicago.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, in addition to these 200 theaters, I mean, Chicago is a big town for music and dance and certainly comedy. And I think one of the great institutions of Chicago sort of crosses into our theater world, and that's Second City. You know, the amazing company that is known around the world.
You sort of feel like an insider after you've seen a Second City show, because you've seen a little piece of all those little political figures that are talked about on CNN and you know, the 24-hour news channel, and then they take it and make it really a lot of fun.
And we've had the pleasure, you know, this is one of these great things about Chicago. I suppose one might think that Chicago Shakespeare and Second City, the comedy troupe, were unlikely bedfellows, but we've collaborated on a number of projects together over the years, and have just had the most marvelous, extraordinary time creating pieces of work that audiences just went nuts for.
Yeah, and the ability for someone to come from any part of the world and come to Chicago and see Broadway at the same caliber that Broadway is done, but then to be able to go out and see new work that's really the birth of what theater people are going to see in the next, you know, 2, 3, 5 years.
If you wanted to see what's next in the American theater, visiting 6 plays in Chicago in any given week, I think, would show you where American theater is headed.